This is Michael Toland checking back in with day 2 here at the Data Connect conference put on by Women in Analytics here in Columbus, Ohio. And I am thrilled to be sitting down with Morgan Templar. Morgan Templar gave a great talk last year, and she is here again. Morgan, tell our audience a little bit more about yourself.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I'm Morgan Templar, CEO of First CDO Partners, and we are an organization focused very tightly on the niche of helping people get through the idea of understanding how important their data is. So as we move into the information, out of the information age and into the intellectual age, and we want to use AI, the data isn't ready. It just isn't. But you can't just buy a tool and fix everything because almost all of the problem is people.
Yeah.
And so
always
it is. And so our company is there to help people understand what they do know, what they don't know, how we can help them move that needle and to achieve their goals by embracing data as a driver for their success.
Yeah, the talk that you gave last year I thought was really good, and I leveraged some of the data that you had shared with some clients around just how do you monetize and understand the value of the data that you have. I'm wondering if you could just share a little bit around some of the research that you did with the EDM Council, specifically to really determine how do you help organizations understand the value of the data that they have when maybe they don't fully understand all the data they have or even how to quantify it.
It's a really interesting question because it has so many answers. Mm-hmm. But the easy answer for when we're talking about the value of intangible assets on your balance sheet is that most people don't have any clue that is data. Mm-hmm. Because when we do a business case, we don't say, okay, so 80% of this is business value and 20% of this is value created by the data organization. And so the data organization should get 20% of this allocated ROI. And so it's really an idea of being able to communicate that better and help people understand that when we do actually build things out, mm-hmm. the data component of it is a significant component of the qualitative and quantitative value that you get from doing projects. And I think when people just don't get it and they just don't understand and they say, well, I don't know what you're talking about. We've always had unattributed intangible assets. Like, you're right, but look at the trend line now on how much the top 5 companies in the world are worth and how much of their data is quantifiable mm-hmm. and how much of it is not. They're completely monetizing data and information. Microsoft, Amazon, Google, that's all they do. They're information companies. And so when you think about how much of their value is actually in data, mm-hmm. you have to realize that your value is in data as well. And so I think that helps a lot with people understanding.
Yeah, I was just attending a session with Dr. Crow, who talked about the modern city and how they are utilizing data up in Cleveland for the first time and also making that data public and broad. And I was just blown away. I'm frustrated that Columbus doesn't have this yet. So I'm going to be talking to my friends at City Council and the government to talk through. But, this idea around just even understanding that your data has an inherent value that is an asset for you and that you do need to spend money for it, to upkeep it, to make certain it's steward, particularly with this path and move towards artificial intelligence. There's a case to be made that artificial intelligence can help you expand your current lack of data quality and governance, but also you still have to go through that work and figure it out. I know that you're also, working on, I think, a new book. Let's talk about it.
So the working title of the new book is Talking to the CFO About Data. So I'm sure I'll find something a little bit more pithy than that to actually publish it under, but it's descriptive enough that people can understand what I'm working on. And I've been talking to CFOs, I've been talking to data leaders, I've been talking all over to everyone that I can get my hands on to tell me how they're actually using data to quantify their value of their companies. I think the biggest thing that I've really been able to come up with, to be honest with you, is that the CFOs don't know what language the data people are using. We use acronyms and we use, all of these things they don't know. It's a little too technical. We start talking about engineering and we start, when you start talking about that sort of thing, which in reality, it is all of those things. The CFO's eyes glaze over and roll. They're like,
my eyes glaze over. Yeah, exactly.
And so you really have to speak their language. You have to understand what matters to them. You have to understand what's important. So that's really what I've been trying to together. Like, what are the most important things that you measure in your company? And how does data contribute to that? So that in the end, we can actually take those measures. We can actually build them out, build the NPV on them, build the ROI out on them, just like you do on any part of your business case, and then be able to garner those outcomes at the end of the project, actually harvest them and use them. And I've kind of come up with this, and I don't know if anybody else has ever said this, but creating a data bank so that when you have those value measures and you've completed the project and, you've earned 10% of a, $100,000 project for whatever, then $1,000 or $10,000 should go into your data bank. And that should be part of the allocation that goes to your team. So you can grow the skills and abilities of your team and continue to keep your team right-sized to the needs of the organization. And if you don't do that, you find yourself in the place that almost every data leader finds himself in, where you have no money, you can't get funded, you can't get an MDM, because why would I even want that? I don't understand it. But if you had this data bank already and you already had some value in it, then you could say, we're going to draw out of our data bank, just like there's an allocation every year for technical debt. You can get rid of your data debt by using your own data bank.
Yeah. One of the things that I've tried more and more is to try to couch the utilization of data and how it transforms the member or customer journey to solve a very specific problem that they're having, that then delivers value that the member is willing to pay the business to have solved for them. And really tying that back to the story, because I don't think that folks in data offices across these organizations are good storytellers. They're so focused on, this is what the facts. But okay, great. Tell me the narrative. Tell me how this improves people's lives, whether it is internal data engineers, data analysts, data scientists. Is that part of your work to really drive that narrative piece as well?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's the story is everything. The story is why we do things.
Yeah.
Yes, we might need to be able to calculate it and put it on paper so that we can get past the phase gates. But you do things because your heart and your mind believe in them. And so if I can convince the head of marketing that what I'm doing for her is going to really help her ability to market this product, she's far more likely to champion my data team and say, and give us the kudos that we both earned, but also the support when we need support. Storytelling, though, is a challenge. And I would say that because data people tend to be introverted. We tend to not really think about how do I express my message in a verbal way. And even I forget to use things like the hero's journey and things that people, we use them as tropes because they work, because people understand them and they follow them. And so, using the hero's journey, even in a slide deck, is really important because that takes them on this is this really great thing. And oh my gosh, no, we have a problem. Now, how are we going to solve that problem? Oh, look, we arise victorious. Using that story model in pretty much everything you do and talk about, even when you're talking about technical things or financial things, it brings people in. They're suddenly interested. They care. And then they want to be part of that hero. They want to be part of that win of who won this. So it really brings people along.
Yeah, it really does. And I just wish, I think folks forget where we originated was telling stories around a bonfire. And then we cascaded to telling stories in taverns and city squares. And then, with the rise of, the arts, we started telling stories through static art and paintings. And then, TV is like this bonfire we sort of all collectively gather around in our own separate homes to watch these stories play out. And I'm constantly butting up against the notion that folks are just think everyone's going to be motivated by the facts. And facts don't move people, unfortunately. And it's the story that those facts support. So I think that's a fantastic lesson that we need to really probably over-index on.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with that. I think the number one challenge and problem is that we have decided that executives should only have 3 bullets.
Oh my gosh.
You cannot tell a story in 3 bullets.
Well, it cannot.
You can't even give the facts.
Mm-hmm.
And when that is what you're limited to, and I have many times had to go into a board presentation and I only get 3 bullets. Well, that's great, but I'm going to tell you about each of those.
Yeah,
great.
Exactly. And I'm at the point where I'm like, I can't even give bullets. I need a photo or a picture. And luckily, I've been using AI image generations to get a lot of these the storyboards crafted, because you can create characters recurring. And so I just say, here's my character, and here's my hero, and I'm following them through this entire experience. And here's every step where your data is influencing how we impact that person. And that has really moved a lot of people to start understanding, oh, I get it now. And then it's like, okay, here's the final use case of or the finite use case of what we want to focus on. And so I'm really excited to see what you're working on and when it comes out and how you're talking to CFOs, because the conversation of just not meeting and using the same language is just so common across organizations. It's so frustrating.
It is. And I will tell you that the most successful data governance organization I ever had, even though it reported to the CIO, was championed by the CFO.
Yeah.
And anytime they started to deviate and say, oh, this isn't important, that CFO was right there to tell them.
That's amazing.
No, we are going to have this. And that really, I think, is part of why I know that it's important that the CFO is behind you.
Yeah.
Because then I went to organizations where the CFO was not behind me.
Yeah.
And I had to win them over. And so you're absolutely right. Having that hero, even if it's someone that you use all the time, they become familiar with this person. And then they're much more willing to say, oh, yeah, we've talked about, Customer Joe or Customer Bob many times. So they have a persona already in mind, and that gets it faster. You don't have to introduce Customer Joe anymore.
Yeah, Leah Hickman of SVPG, she talks about the transformation that Adobe went through when they were moving to the Creative Cloud Suite, and they really bet their company on it. And one of the things they did is they had a specific persona that every single person in the company knew, and the executives would walk around and be, what are you doing for this person today? And they knew that person didn't actually exist. It was a persona, but everyone in the company who was working towards that goal was aligned on how they were solving problems for that person. And it was a really powerful motivator in their vision. And I think that is so critical that we often forget about, and we'll build it once and then we just forget about it, and rather than keep honing in on it. And so I think that's a really fantastic lesson for folks. As my last question, what are you most excited for? Or has there been a point of this conference that is just, when you leave, is going to sit with you?
So I have been really excited about AI ethics and AI privacy, and I've been doing a lot of volunteer work with EDM Council. I think there's been so many good talks about AI. I don't know that I could pull one single one from this conference, but I will tell you it's been really motivating to help me recognize there's still bias, and there's lots of unconscious bias. There is a lot of opportunity for us to make that better, and to help our AIs grow, and because they are going to become personas that are part of our daily lives. And, how do you help them do that? So I think that's probably my takeaway from this conference, is that we all need to find a way to be able to step up, and whether we're volunteering our time or our company is willing to do it, or, you just happen to know somebody that has influence. Yeah. But we all need to step up, and we all need to say, AI is here. AI is not going away. This is not a fad. It's like the internet. They thought it was a fad at first. Well, it isn't.
It is not.
It is growing exponentially faster, and adoption is, because of that generative component, adoption is just through the roof. And, you don't have to be a data scientist anymore to query data and to get real information.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to have a database administrator limit my spool space again because my query was bad. I can now go to, Copilot or any of these and be like, hey, here's my data set. You have access to it. help me write this query. This is the type of information, and it'll generate it, and then I can sample it instead of, I think it was Lindsay Murphy yesterday talked about one person's query running $5,000 per query because we just select star, and these tools can help us contain costs, drive more value. I'm really excited for where it's going. And I'm really excited that this conference is obviously focused on women in the data space because, as you said, we still have a lot of bias in the space. It's still very male-dominated, and I am thrilled to see that there is a space dedicated specifically for non-male voices. As I am a male host here, I realized that we should have brought Franny in, who's another host on this podcast, to have these conversations. But yeah.
But you need to be in this conversation.
Yeah.
Men need to hear this.
Yeah.
I brought my business partner because he needed to be here.
Yeah.
So he could hear these things and see these women on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And not that he has any bias. Obviously, we're equals and we're partners. Yeah. But because there's so much of a mind shift that we don't think about. Mm-hmm. I did want to leave one additional thought.
Yeah.
I know that was an amazing thing to end on. I probably should have just let it go.
It's fine.
Something that I have learned using the AI is when I query the AI, I want it to speak back in my voice.
Yes.
And so I actually uploaded my books into a GPT.
Oh, wow.
So when I query, I say, and give me the answer in my voice as it is in Get Governed on this GPT. And then it actually talks like me.
That's incredible.
And I love it.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of creativity and abundance, and I think, there's a lot of concerns, rightfully so, around how AI is going to harm creatives. I actually think that what we're going to see, in the same way we saw streaming change the way music was developed and produced, for some, there were a lot of losers. And there's always going to be winners and losers, and that's horrible, and it's a symptom of a wider problem that we don't have time to get into. But how can creatives start thinking and changing how their process is governed into these new tools to leverage what they're already great at? I think we need to be a little bit more thoughtful, a little more open-minded, recognizing though we will leave people behind, which is really frustrating. And how do we upskill them, bring them along, and get them involved in it?
And that concept of having a data bank is part of that.
Yeah.
So you have money and opportunity to train people.
Yeah.
Things are going to change.
Things are going to change.
They are changing.
So fast, week by week. So, oh my gosh. Well, Morgan, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I know that there's more of the conference to get to. We've still got, half a day still. We're getting ready to head to lunch, but I'm so thrilled to see you again. And I will share, anything you want to share as far as people contacting you or any information you're looking to get from anyone.
So just reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Great.
Send me a message. I'm the only Morgan Templar in the world. And so it's really easy to find me.
Amazing.
And I'm an open networker, so awesome. I will be here.
Yeah. I mean, I just walked up to you last year after your talk, and we started chatting, and then I introduced you to my friend Jen, who was on the keynote last year. So thank you again. It's really wonderful to chat with you this year again, and have a wonderful rest of your conference.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.